What do you mean? Yes, I know I need to get my roots done, Phyllis. Okay, we talked about this. I'm going to make an appointment as soon as I can. Just let me do the. Oh, hey! Welcome to the Reykjavík Newsdesk. I'm Andie Sophia Fontaine, and these are the top stories from the last week in Iceland. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you really like this content, check out the Patreon in the description below. But now, the week's top stories. Visa reports that management has approved a lockout in response to the labor union Epling going on strike. This means that some 20,000 workers will not be allowed to work and they will not receive any pay. This lockout is to go into effect on March 2nd. Now, there will be some exceptions to this lockout, notably healthcare workers, elderly care workers, emergency care workers, and some teachers will be exempted from the lockout, but it will apply to everybody else. Now, you may be asking yourself, if management has a problem with some hundreds of workers going on strike, why would they prevent 20,000 workers from going to work? Well, the answer is likely tactical. You see, they're hoping to drain the funds of Epling to make them think twice about or even prevent them from going on strike in the future, is the likely reason here. Vice Chair Sólveig has said that they will not be extorted and that they will not be paying the workers during this lockout. However, Vice Chair of Epling, Agnieszka Eva Zhutkowska, has pointed out that the labor fund is there in part to pay workers during a lockout. Sólveig strongly disagrees, and she went on Facebook to accuse the vice chair of having a sick need for attention and having no class consciousness. So, pretty definitive there. Now, Epling will not be engaging in any further strikes beyond what there is now. If, as I said in the last video, if you booked a hotel room in Iceland for the next few weeks, I would strongly advise calling them and asking them if they have any contingency plans in place, or more ideally, making other arrangements. The union has asked the government to step in and try to solve the problems here, and so we'll see how it pans out. I will, of course, keep you updated. In other news, RÚV reports that people in East Iceland have been told to be on alert and to familiarize themselves with tips on what to do in the event of a volcanic eruption. This is due to Askja, that crater in East Iceland that's a very popular place to visit. It also happens to be a volcano. And as I said in the last video, it's been showing some interesting activity. Notably that the ice on top is melting, there's some seismic activity, and some of this stuff might be because of the weather, but some of it might be because there is an eruption on the way. But, as I've said, volcanoes are very capricious, they're very coy, they do what they want when they want. But this volcano may erupt as it did in 1875 to great effect. But we have a lot of good scientists in this country monitoring the situation, so we will absolutely keep you posted about any events as they arise. Next, Heimildin reports that a new poll from Maskina shows that Iceland's government, its ruling coalition, has the lowest support that it's polled for its term. It's now at 39%. The single most popular party in the country are the Social Democrats at 23%, ahead of the Conservatives, the Independence Party, at 20%. The other two parties in the ruling coalition are polling in the single digits. Now, for those who are not familiar, Iceland's ruling coalition is ostensibly led by the Left Green Party, with the support of the Conservative Independence Party and the center-right Progressive Party. Why are they polling this badly? Well, there's a few possible explanations for this. One of them might be that while the Left Greens ostensibly are running, leading the coalition, it's kind of an open secret that it's really the Independence Party running the show. They recently pushed through a very hotly contested omnibus immigration bill that received criticism across the political spectrum, and there's very little, if any, pushback from their partners in the ruling coalition, which politically might make sense, but in terms of the Left Green's platform, was kind of disappointing to a lot of their supporters. Now, the Independence Party, I should clarify, they're more than a political party. To understand Iceland, you really have to understand the Independence Party. They're a force of nature. They're a subculture. They're a way of life. And I'll do another video digging deep into what this party is all about, probably, if that's something that you all want to see. But suffice it to say, that's why they're polling at 20%, despite a lot of unpopular policies. And, well, we'll see how this all bears out when elections are held next in 2025, barring a collapse of government, which has happened in the recent past, so you never know. Finally, magic mushrooms, also known as psilocybin. Decode CEO Kári Stefánsson went on the podcast Broadcast and just casually mentioned that Minister of Justice Jon Gunnarsson had floated the idea of giving 30 prisoners mushrooms to see if it would improve their lives and sociability. So that kind of came out of left field there. Ruv reports that Social Democratic MP Johan Paul Johansson sent a written inquiry to the minister asking if it was true that he indeed had a conversation with Kári Stefánsson about giving psychedelic mushrooms to prisoners to see what it would do. The minister responded, clarifying that his idea was rather to give these mushrooms to former prisoners to see if it would improve their sociability and their way of life, and to also possibly give these mushrooms to victims of trauma. But to be fair, there is some research showing that psilocybin can have a positive effect on people with depression and PTSD. So there may be something to this, but whether it will go further than this remains to be seen. Well, that's all the news for the week that I have for you today. Again, like and subscribe if you like this content, and do check out the Patreon in the description below. Speaking of which, I want to give a thank you to Corinne Vasquez for subscribing to the Patreon on the $20 level, as well as Stephen Ellis for subscribing at the $10 level. You rock! Okay, so have a good weekend. I will see you on Monday. Be good to each other.